24 hours. 1,440 minutes. One question. Have you achieved your goals? Are you living the life your heart beats faster for? Stand up. Write your story. If it were easy, it's not you driving it. It's in your hands. Get out of your comfort zone. Success is more than luck. It's the idea, the pioneer, the trailblazer, the inspiration. The CEO DNA. The entrepreneurial DNA that lies dormant in each and every one of us.
Today we talk about crazy parties, how to get really rich with angel investments, and for the CEOs and also the entrepreneurs, what we can learn from all those crazy Silicon Valley mindsets. And that's why I'm super happy to have you here, who already organized different parties. Always people prepare some of the questions and said, Mike, you need to read this article.
Yeah.
And it says, yes, they had a real elephant at the party.
Oh, yeah.
And smartphones are not allowed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We've had
maybe
seals at the party, a camel at the party, monkeys. I built seal rock in front of my house. So I had 5 baby seals. I literally had a rendition of the Golden Gate Bridge built across my backyard for my Super Bowl party, which was 850 people.
amazing.
And Joe Montana, and we had a crazy party. But the reason I give parties, and I pay for them all myself,
yes,
and then people donate to a homeless shelter or cancer center, and I underwrite everything, is not just to raise money, but it is actually a fundraisers instead of fundraisers.
Yes.
So I want everyone to literally come home from that party with 2 new valued relationships.
Wonderful.
And I've been doing this for many years, and my parties, as you know, are globally known, and people come from all over the world, and they're very, very crazy, but they're memorable, and they invest in people.
Lovely. So you're the new Gatsby?
Yes. I'm the first Gatsby.
Yeah, the first one, right. And so what will be the next big party? Anything already planned?
Yes. So this is very interesting. So you do not know what a Pop-Tart is, do you?
No, help us,
Okay.
please.
So Pop-Tart is a type of pastry in the United States that started in the 1950s, and it is as well known as a Kleenex is, or a Cran, or any other big brand. Jerry Seinfeld, is doing a movie called the Pop-Tart movie.
Okay.
And it is 17 comedians are in the movie. And if you know anything about me, on one hand, I love caviar. On the other hand, I love my Pop-Tart. It's like a cereal. It's a pastry, and it goes in the toaster and pops up like a strudel.
Yes, right. Yeah.
It's very well known. And at one of my parties, I had a tequila bar on one side, and the other side were 50 toasters and a Pop-Tart concierge. And the posters said, excuse expression, fuck astrology, what's your Pop-Tart flavor?
Wow.
So you can tell people who they are by their Pop-Tarts. Anywho, I'm going to have a Pop-Tart party for the premiere of the movie.
That sounds a lot of fun to me, for sure.
And everybody has to come as a Pop-Tart flavor.
Oh,
yes.
Okay. What flavor will you be?
So, mystery.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Good to know. So I actually always thought that when people look at my CV, they think I'm a bit crazy, and they always tell me, Michael, like, how many lives did you live? But when I looked at your CV, I mean, oh my God, it's like crazy.
Crazy, right?
And your heart is 30 years young, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm only 31, maybe.
Okay,
maybe
31.
pushing 31. Yeah. So I mentor a lot of young people, and I say to them that I have had 36 jobs
Yes.
in my life. I've been publisher of national magazines. I've been head of M&A for Credit Suisse. I've been a talent agent. I have
Universal.
Yes, I've been director of development for Universal Studios and Warner Brothers, and I've started 3 companies, and I sold 3 of them, bombed on one, started 4 companies, and I've done a lot. And they always ask me what my favorite job was. Like, I literally just got asked this. And hand to God, my favorite one was as a roller skating waitress for MTV.
Wow.
And, right? Now, you don't think of that. You think to yourself, well, gosh, she's, been head of a studio. She's, sold big companies. No. And the reason why is because at the time I needed money. And I was living in New York City, and I needed rent to rent my own apartment.
Right.
And so my friend said to me, hey, this MTV is hiring roller skating waitresses. You have to have moxie and you have to have great legs. Well, I had both at that time. And she said, and I know you roller skate, for which I did not know how to roller skate. So I went and I said, no problem. I had a week to figure out how to roller skate. So I went to Central Park, and there was a guy named Leon there, a big strapping gay guy who was roller skating all the time. And I went to him and I said, here is $50, for which that was a lot of money at the time.
Right.
I will give you this 50 plus another 50 if I get the job to teach me how to roller skate in a week. I have to get this job. It was a lot of money MTV was paying.
Right.
So in a week, I was covered in bruises. I had to wear literally black stockings to cover up my bruised legs, the thing. But I showed up and I got that job.
Respect.
And that job was the most humbling, humiliating, and challenging job I have ever had. And when you have people groping at you and seeing you as a servant,
right,
it makes you realize that you are just that. You are serving other people every day of your life.
Right.
So wrap your head around and don't think you're better than anybody else, because you are not.
True. Yeah.
And that's how I learned humility.
Such a good life lesson. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Probably the one most important attributes I look for in a CEO is humility.
So interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. So then you had this job at MTV. What did you do after that?
Oh my gosh. I did so many other things. So I was a receptionist at a graveyard shift of a law firm. I cleaned toilets. I was a housekeeper. I sold jewelry at Tiffany's. I did scheduling at Vidal Sassoon. I did everything and anything in order to make money and to learn about a marketplace. And the reason why I am a success in terms of venture capital, if I even am a success, I am not a success.
For sure.
No, there are so many others. There's so much more than I. But it's because I know product market fit. And if you know who your customers are, I can tell you every customer in every industry because I have been a customer and I've served those customers. So that's the key to a successful company, is being able to understand who your customers are, be able to listen to them. And the product market fit, like Mark Andreessen says, is the #1 priority of founders should be, of CEOs.
So interesting. So especially for us having so many CEOs and founders, entrepreneurs, listen to it. So the product market fit, that's what you said, that's so important. And how do you think, well, what can we learn from it? Is it so much psychology that we really need to understand your target customer, the persona?
This is a really important question. Steve Jobs used to say, you do not want your customers to buy your product. He said, you want your customers to own your product. And that's the difference.
Right.
That's the fit. Because you want your customer to have an emotional connection to your product. First, why do they need it? Why do they have to have it? How is it going to make their life better, the quality of their life, their health, their efficiency? How is it going to make their calendar less frustrating or fussy. How are they going to enjoy, like Netflix did, is to create this streaming media that you could get a movie in your home and you didn't have to wait at the Blockbuster lines, or Amazon where you could buy online and you didn't have to go flying all over a million stores to find the product that you wanted. So the customer, so what is the problem? It has to be a meaningful problem. What's the mission? How does it deliver an impact to society, right?
Yes.
And who your customer is, the why. Why is it important to them? Why do they have to own this product, not just buy it?
Interesting. Yesterday I had also the chance to talk to Philip Lyons, the fashion designer. And he told me, Michael, you know, today, at least the Western world is so much in overflow of things that they have, right? So, because then also the question to you now, how can we as entrepreneurs still position our product or service in an emotional way that they really need it?
Okay, well, if you know about so I'm managing partner of a venture fund, Structure Capital. I also have an angel fund called Broad Strategy, because I'm abroad. Just so you understand that.
and also you just sold your podcast.
So this is this is a united front. So I think that the key to a successful company is understanding what the unique value proposition is. What makes your company unique? What's your differentiator? You're all solving for the same problems, most of us, right? It's how you're going to solve it better or more uniquely, more efficiently, more structured. And that's really how you deliver. Yes, European companies that come to the US really never understand the competitive landscape. And if they do not, they are dead in the water the moment they pitch to a venture capitalist. So there will always be new problems. I mean, we have now the acceleration of AI. This is a giant opportunity for a lot of companies that were kind of punting around to use their data to monetize their data. So now these companies will become very, very valuable to these large AI companies because they have data sets that they need in order to train their algorithms, these larger companies. So now you have to have, and this goes back to humility. What makes a good leader? A good leader is someone who can pivot a company. A good leader is someone who could say, you know, I was wrong. I did not know what I was doing, and now I think I know how to better serve our customer and our company. So if you don't have humility, if you don't have what I call the quiet ego, you will not be a good CEO because you will not know how to pivot and when to pivot and be okay doing so.
Right. At our company, I always say it's so important to be able to change your opinion when you have new information. It's not wrong at all. I think it's actually very healthy to have this
100%. I always say that it is rarely the products that fail. It's always the people.
Yeah, true.
It's always the people.
So you went into angel investment basically, and how do you pick then the right from the wrong?
Well, I went into angel investment because there was a lack of investment in diverse founders.
Right.
So I decided to invest into women.
Lovely. Nice.
Broad strategy. And so I decided to invest into broads and to minority founders because they didn't have the social capital and they didn't have capital, period, in order to run and scale their companies and to believe in them. And so my angel investing is a little bit, funny enough, riskier because I'm okay losing my own money, but I refuse to lose other people's money or LPs.
Right.
So the diligence is a little bit more stringent. And if I have a gut feeling and a personal excitement, let's say into the tattoo business, because I have some tattoos, it's not something that I would bring to structure because our LPs would say, I'm sorry, what, tattoos? But I happen to know that's a fanatical industry, a fanatical consumer base, and I'm willing to take that chance to invest my own money and potentially then bring it to structure once I prove this out. I've done that for a number of our companies. I personally invest in it, and then I'll bring it to structure.
Yeah. Oh, very interesting. And what are you looking as capabilities in those founders?
Yeah.
So you said already some, but
Yeah. So I have 5. So the first,
5.
yeah.
Okay, good. Right.
I have 12, but here are the first 5.
Yeah.
They need curiosity. I was telling you previously that there are 2 buckets of people, vertical thinkers and horizontal thinkers.
Correct, yeah.
You need to be a horizontal thinker to be a founder. You need to have and be able to amass large amounts of knowledge in many different areas, not just your own, to be able to bring to the company a type of curious learning.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of founders, especially here in Europe, are very technically focused, and that's all they're interested in. And they do not think outside the brackets. And you need to be able to do that. Also, a curious founder to me is coachable. Someone who wants to learn, someone who wants to be able to evolve as a person as well as a leader.
Yeah.
So they need to be curious.
Right.
Second one we've touched is humility, the quiet ego. Okay. Third is, for me, it's called honor. So your word, when you give your word, okay, that is your personal and professional currency. If you say you're going to do something, you do it.
Yes.
And you become a leader by showing people that you will always deliver to them in a fair and equitable way.
Nice. Lead by example.
So absolutely. So honor to me is integrity.
Nice. Yeah.
I need to see a founder or a CEO that's going to build a culture of integrity and inclusion. So that is tucked under honor.
Yes.
Right? And the other one is, I would say, courage. The courage to face every rejection, because they're going to have a lot. The courage to stay with the company for 10 years or more, to stress and to be able to forge ahead under the most duress.
Right.
Continuously, every day, with courage.
Nice. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, so much. So
Oh,
interesting.
wait,
Yeah,
one more.
One more.
Most important,
Yeah.
energy.
Energy. Positive energy.
Energy, period. I see so many founders, and especially in Europe, which they come and they pitch their product, but I don't care about the product. Who am I investing in? Do they have energy? The energy is going to motivate their teams. It's going to motivate people to fund, fundraising.
Yes.
And it's also going to motivate the customers. Do they have great energy and dominable spirit?
True.
Those are the 5.
So let's say the founder has it, and the CEOs who are listening, but how can we transform this into the entire company? How do we build this culture? Because I believe the people as such, you should pick by values, of course, and then it's a group of people with similar values, collective values. But how can you then, especially when you grow now, the company I now manage is way over 100 people.
Yeah.
So how can we now make sure that every single one gets touched by that spirit?
Because it starts at the HR, at the recruiting.
Okay.
They have to have, very
Selection.
interesting, Airbnb, their culture is of belonging.
Right.
Okay, and when you go to apply for a job there, you get assessed by a technical team. You get assessed by all these different teams, legal team, and so on and so forth. And then you get assessed by the culture team. You have to go through a culture test of fitting into their culture with a number of questions. And if you do not pass the culture test, no matter how good your skills are, you are not hired.
Interesting. Yeah.
So the culture is of belonging. It's the
It's
on-ramp.
essential to
It's
have
the
this,
on-ramp. That's
to
it.
move forward.
And it's values, yes. It's process of decision making.
Nice.
It's failure that you've had in your life that you're actually now proud of and being able to utilize. It's all those things. And it's also around positive, happy character.
True.
Are you a person that's going to motivate other people and give people credit where credit's due? And are you going to be that person?
Yeah.
Airbnb has done exemplary job of that. My husband was the general counsel for Airbnb, and I had the unique ability to look at the company inside out and outside in. Belonging was everything to them. From the moment you stepped in the door, the security guard made you feel like you belonged while you were there. The woman who took care of the loo there, the cafeteria, whomever it is, they made you feel good that you were there, you belonged. And the whole mission of Airbnb is to empower or enable people to feel like they belong in every country. That's the mission. That's the big mission. So it's internal as well as external. They built the culture around belonging, and that's how it exists.
So interesting. Thank you for sharing that, because I think there's so many values in for us as entrepreneurs to also implement it in our culture, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to have that. What else is important to have success? Because especially now you have also a closer look in Silicon Valley. I actually used to live there for a while because I wanted to get the spirit, you know, when you go there. I worked for a startup company from Siemens, it's a German company.
Yeah, of course.
For
I work with
oncology
Siemens.
care. Oh, good, I worked with them and like in a startup of them, and it was so interesting to see. But what do you think are the success factors in Silicon Valley? Why those often tech companies have a higher chance to be successful and disrupt technologies and industry? What do you think is behind
I think 3 reasons. First of all, they're more collaborative.
Yes.
Right, and so there's an ecosystem in the Silicon Valley where startups all help each other. Literally, I have founders in my portfolio companies helping other founders.
Lovely.
In my portfolio, and I introduce them to each other, and right away sharing best practices. So-and-so went through this, they're a SaaS company, they went through some similar challenge 2 years ago or a year ago. Here's how they fixed it. You talk to the founder. And the founders all talk to each other because they want each other to succeed. Here it's not so much. It's kind of in a silo. They don't want to share best practices and they don't want to share funds. You know, in other words, there in Silicon Valley, every founder talks about the VCs that are in their companies and how maybe you would be a good company for that VC, or the VC would be good for your company. So it's all about collaboration. It's about Ubuntu. Ubuntu is an African saying which means we all succeed together, but not apart.
Yeah.
It's not one for one and one for, it's one for one and one for all. It's not one for one and one for one. If you succeed, I succeed.
Right.
And that's really a mentality that does not really exist here in Europe.
Good point. And when you now look at all the different aspects that make a company successful or that make a company not successful, right? So we say that especially after the first years, after 5 years, what can you see makes the company successful, or what makes the companies not successful?
Truthfully, as I said, it's the leadership not able to really own the problems, not being transparent with their investors, not being transparent with their employees, having internal challenges that are not shared, and then it's too late.
Right.
And nobody can solve the problems.
Yeah.
Not the teams, not the investors, and all of a sudden they're hanging off a cliff. And that's when they let people know they're hanging off a cliff.
Yeah.
And that's one of the biggest failure pain points of a company. It's all about the leadership owning their challenge. They're running out of runway. Instead of telling you 6 months, they should be telling you a year or 18 months. At 18 months, they should have enough runway for those 18 months.
Correct.
And if they don't at that 18-month part, they have to go to their investors and say, we do not have enough. Or we have to cut our burn. At 18 months, we have to start cutting a burn, which means we have to make tough decisions and cut headcount. In other words, that's another part of being a courageous founder. You have to make very hard decisions, and you have to hurt feelings, and you have to make cuts. And that's all part of being a good leader, is taking responsibility for the hard decisions, for the uncomfortable decisions, not just for the productive decisions.
Yeah. So when you would say that, say, the business plan, the team, the time to market, or is the market right, or the funding?
It's a lot about the funding.
Funding, you would say, is important.
It's running out of funding and not using capital constructively.
Right.
So it's a big around capital preservation, capital forecasts. That's really one of the biggest problems, is that they run out of the money because they're not focusing on prioritizing deployment of that. And then the other piece is that they do not understand their product market fit, or they don't have a product market fit and they have to pivot the company.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's even step a bit before. What about the idea? How important do you think is the idea in the overhaul?
Yeah. So, I teach a lot of entrepreneurs, and one of the biggest problems is that they have a solution that's chasing the problem.
Right.
Okay, I have a great idea. I have a great solution.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, how big is that problem? Well, it could be bigger. No, let's switch this. It has to be a giant problem.
Right.
Where that company has to say, this is why we must exist. It's a must exist problem, not a nice to have. It's a must. And so what is the size of that problem? What is the urgency of that problem? And then you come up with a solution that can literally be broken down and tethered to each component of the problem. The solution will address it. And so people want to fix problems that are just not scalable. And they're just not urgent enough. And they're just, as I said, they don't have that emotional connection to millions of people, to potentially billions of people. You might have an emotional connection to 100,000 people.
Right.
That's great. That's not a company. That is a company. That's a family-owned business. That's a great company, but it's not a venture-backed company.
Right.
And there are two different types of categories. There are a lot of companies and founders come and pitch to me, and I said, this is a great idea, but this is not a billion-dollar company. This is not right, but it's a good company that if you invest in and you find other angel investors, or you get a loan or a foundation as a funding vehicle, this company will create a nice return for your family, for the employees. That's good. That small business is still good. It's part of the fabric of our economy.
Yes, right. So you'll be talking about the small, medium enterprises that have a steady growth,
SMEs,
nice year-to-year growth.
Nice.
And then on the other hand, you'd say, okay, there are those exponential growth company where you probably in the beginning have to invest a bit more in technology and some IP and so on. And then, of course, you have the exponential growth.
There's also the small, medium enterprise. There are small businesses that are also what I call fragmented industries. So let's say, which was a favorite of mine years ago, was this self-storage.
Right.
Okay, now self-storage has no overhead, very little capital intensity, really good real estate.
High demand.
High demand, fanatic user. You can think automatically 1,000 people who, if you gave them a platform and the ability to find a trusted, easy, efficient way to store their belongings, okay?
Yes.
But this market, 80% is owned by families. So what do? You go find venture or you find a bank and you say, I want to roll up and buy 50% of these companies. I was just talking to a woman here, an entrepreneur, about this. I said, go to those family companies. Most of them would love to be able to sell. So then you roll up this market of self-storage and you build a giant industry, but to invest or just to start a couple of self-storage companies, that's not of interest. That could be good for some nice cash for your family.
Yes.
But so I like fragmented markets. And one of our companies is Rinse. So Rinse is an on-demand laundry.
Nice.
And there are all these tiny little laundromats
Right.
and dry cleaners, right, that cannot scale.
Right.
But now there's a platform that actually comes to your house.
Smart.
It's very big in the US. It picks up your laundry,
Yeah.
boom, boom, and it delivers it back to you.
Very
and we're
nice.
good to go. And then you have all these small little dry cleaners and laundry mats, these fluff and fold services
Right.
that actually now are able to build bigger businesses. They're not owned by rents, but they're activated and scaled by rents.
Right, nice.
Yeah.
So there's a platform technology that
Yes.
I personally live in Dubai and we have something similar.
yeah.
It's so nice because you don't have to talk to anyone. You just click
Yeah,
the button and
that's
they
it.
come pick it up.
Yep, and
and 2
deliver.
days later, one day
That's
later,
it.
you have your clothes.
Rents
yeah.
is a huge company.
Nice.
One of my companies was WAG. Mm-hmm. Okay, WAG
What
is
does
an
they do?
on-demand dog walking.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
I have to dog.
So Rover was just bought for $2 trillion. Same
Nice.
thing.
Wow.
So, you think to yourself, why is that a big company when I invested into it? And I use this as a case study because people love their dogs sometimes as much as their children, because there are dogs everywhere, because veterinarians get paid more than pediatricians, because there's no insurance on vet care.
True. Yeah.
So when you think about a product, you're not thinking, and yes, it will give people of every way, shape, and form an ability to make money, because who can't walk a doggy? And so I saw it as this global opportunity because the pet market is so giant. And so we invested in WAG, and it became a huge global company. But when it was pitched to us, it was on-demand dog walking. And unless you have the data to support that and you understand the product market
Right.
fit of what else services could be added to that,
yes.
medical care, food brand, WAG is a data mining, it's a gold mine for places like Purina or other type of pet products that
Yes.
want to be able to pilot new products to a targeted audience. WAG. You know the doggy,
Yeah.
you be able to track their behavior, you are able to introduce new product to them. So a simple idea with a fanatical market, to me, is a winner.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
For sure.
So would you say like a shop that starts selling only books online would be successful?
I
Amazon.
invested in that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
early enough?
It was the very beginning. But the reason why at that point I owned a literary agency, and it was part of a media company, a media investment company, and it turned out that a lot of the celebrities wanted to do books.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, well, we'll just start a literary agency. So I got very involved with understanding publishing and understanding book distribution. And so when Amazon started this company, I thought to
Right.
myself, well, this is just a logistics play. If you can sell books, you can sell anything on this.
Yeah.
And that was the reason.
Smart.
Yeah.
So you really see already a little bit in the future, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what for skills do we need? People tell me always that I live in the future, 6 months. Our managing director you met earlier.
Yeah.
So Jan, he always says like I live 6 months ahead to kind of prepare at least 6 months for the future.
Yeah.
How do you live in the future? Where do you educate yourself? Where do you get the knowledge?
So there are two things. First of all, I tell people all the time to reverse engineer your life.
Yes.
Start on the finish line. What does my finish line look like? What do I want to accomplish? Who do I want to impact? What do I want to do at the very end of my life to say a life well lived?
Nice.
Okay, now work backwards from there.
Yeah.
Am I going to be able to actually create, I'm a Dean's Fellow at Stanford Medical School. How can I add value to, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but what can I do to be able to help them? Is it with their venture fund? Is it with scaling ideas globally and partnering up with Google or McKinsey or whatever to identify big healthcare problems and then applying some of my problem solving capabilities? Like, what can I do? So it is more of, I live in the future of my own life. I can't live in the future of the world because I don't know what the world is going to look like, and I have no control over this world. So what is it that I can actually invest my skills, my knowledge, my passion into that might make a difference in the future, right? But I can't read the tea leaves.
Yes.
But there are some leaves that are very obvious right now, which is, let's say, AI.
Yes.
But then you think of the regulatory framework right now, you think of the Digital Service Act here in Europe and how that's impacting technology companies, how their protection and transparency and so I had a nun in my life who used to talk about invisible markers. She said the problem is that there's so many invisible markers around us, but we're not at that stage in our life to be able to see all of them at the same time.
Yes.
So it's really keep aware of those invisible signs, those invisible those times where something is revealed to you that percolates an idea or a solution. I listened to TED Talks, one a day for many years.
Wow.
And they're not on business. Only 3 a week are on business and 4 a week on every other topic. So I learn about ants and flock formation. I've learned about pyramid architecture. And I have a wonderful one that I just learned to called the evolution of the hula hoop.
Okay, wow.
And then there's another one that's the evolution of the jump rope, which is fascinating. And I learned from that because the jump rope and the rhythm in the jump rope had a lot to influence rap music, which then influenced the culture of rap, which influenced the design, and so on and so forth. But it all started from just literally learning about the hula hoop and about the jump rope.
Okay, I will directly put it in my watch list. So I learned now a lot. So one thing is, of course, importance of also first principle thinking. I understood a bit. Then, of course, kind of start in a niche, maybe also dominate a niche, and then later be in a niche that it's also in a big industry or picks a niche from the beginning. Because you said, look, then you have dogs walking, but then you can also sell so many other options like Dollar Shaver Club also had as an idea later on with Unilever taking it over.
You're really delivering to a customer of a whole list of services, a whole list of solutions to problems in their life. They can't walk their dog because they have to work, so they can't even get a dog. But if they had someone to walk their dog, all of a sudden they would be able to get a dog. Now they have a dog. Now they want to feed the dog properly. Now they want to bathe the dog properly. Now they want to ride. And so what does a pet owner need? First is the entry point. In other words, I always say go into one door of a house, not 10 entry points. Don't pitch me 10 products.
Right.
Pitch me one core problem. And then you can go and build it out after that. When we invested in Uber, Structure Capital was a very early investor in Uber. Because it was an underutilized asset, which is your car, how to use what you have better instead of just creating more. So I went and I drove an Uber. And I walked a dog for a wag. Because I needed to understand, there goes the product market fit research. I need to understand what my emotional connection to the people who were getting in my car, was I going to be trusting, how the entire interface was between the customer and the drivers and the owners and the car and the problems that existed. And so I think that the way to know the future is to invest in the present more intentionally.
Nice, interesting, very good point. So I think it's so interesting, all the disruption that's going on and that you've been there so early as well. But when you look now at all the disruption, what about the change management? When you talk about Airbnb or Uber, let's say the more traditional German people would think, oh my gosh, letting my daughter now go into a car of a stranger I don't even know, or let different people living in my home with Airbnb.
It's a cultural, right? There are certain things that are so beautiful in the German culture or the French culture or any of the member states in Europe that we would have no understanding of whatsoever in the United States. So can you build for a European culture and exclude US? Sure, go ahead and do that. But if you want to be a global brand, you have to be able to respect every culture and find the commonality.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's one of the
But I think it takes sometimes also time. When I heard about Uber now in Germany at the beginning, the traditional taxi company said no, and so on.
But it's the customer demand that's driving this.
Yeah, I believe so too.
Okay. And so it's the customer demand that's going to change regulation that they did for Uber. It's the customer demand that is going to grow a business. That is the whole point of knowing your customers.
I believe customer demand, ease of use, and also cost.
Cost.
Yeah.
Those are the three.
And if they hit it, there's no chance that also governments can stop it. At one point it will, I think, break.
Yeah, but you will, like with Uber.
Yes,
it
100%.
broke.
Yeah,
they shut it down. Airbnb. A lot of states shut it down until everybody said, I'm sorry, you are keeping our population from earning extra money and from being self-sufficient. So now we're more dependent on the government for welfare. But if you let us use our homes and be able to create some more cash, then we wouldn't be dependent on the government. We wouldn't be dependent on the state. And so all of a sudden, what's the win-win? Mm-hmm. You create a win-win, the government wins, the customer wins, society wins. That's a win-win.
For sure. I think it's really about the change management, that sometimes we need a bit longer as human beings to use to get change. And I feel it even by myself, as older as I get, as difficult I get used to different things. But I like to talk a lot also about mistakes, or not mistakes, but let's say things that did not go well. And you had the chance to look in so many different companies. And I believe we can learn from those things a lot more that did not went well as all the things that go well. So what could you see from the companies that you invested in where there was really something going wrong and you were able to learn from it and maybe even later on be stronger?
Yeah. I think a very big problem with companies is that they do not have good governance. Mm-hmm. They do not stand up a board soon enough. Yes. They don't establish a board, a governing body. Mm-hmm. And that is one of the biggest problems with startups, that they don't want to lose control, so they don't set up boards. Mm-hmm. And then the board are usually comprised of investors, both independent investors as well as VCs. And this is a critical problem in the United States, is that the companies don't have boards that will provide oversight as well as insight and be thought leaders with the founders. Vinod Khosla, who's a very well-known venture capitalist, he always says that boards should not work, for the board should not work for themselves, they should work for the founders.
Lovely. Yeah.
And I always remember that. He said, the board should not be saying to the founder, you can't do this, you shouldn't do this, you can't. It shouldn't be a policing.
It should be a team.
Yeah, it's a team. What can we do to help you?
Lovely, yeah.
But you need a board.
Right.
And I cannot stress that enough.
Yeah.
For everyone who is listening, stop worrying about losing control, because you're going to lose your company if you don't have other people working with you as a brain trust in order to build your company with integrity and proper governance.
Lovely. So important. That was important to also implement early enough a board. I guess you are on many seats, not only your investment, but also some others. Lovely. Is there something, another mistake or things that you could see where we can learn from as entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think that entrepreneurs tend to feel like, I was saying this in the session before, but it's kind of like my ex-husband, where it was his way or the highway. Mm-hmm. Founders tend to be very myopic, and they only will follow what they think is right, and they don't listen. They don't listen to what others' voices in their company and beyond. And that's a very big problem. Leadership is not about talking to people, it's about listening to people.
Right.
And that's a big disconnect.
Very interesting. Yeah. always when I have the chance to talk to some billionaires, I have the feeling that they ask me more questions as I ask them. It's very interesting.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, because the whole point is you want to learn from you right now, and I actually have. How, I asked you before, when you went into your company, it had, you said, several CEOs.
Yes.
And my first question is,
Before me.
what did you bring of value to this company that was missing?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's the question. And part of it is Jan had mentioned, yes, that Jan, yes,
Yes, Jan.
that it was that together you talk a lot about basically operational rigor. That's what it, right?
Yeah.
Being able to really, really keep the trains on, and really understand the structure and the product market fit and the brand awareness and narrative, but also capital expenditure, how to use your capital with preservation and with deployment with stringent forecasts and milestones, what your KPIs are, and holding everyone in your team accountable.
100%.
100%. But that's how you're running your company.
True.
That's what was missing. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's what you brought. But knowing what was missing, that's why your company is successful, is because you said, what did the other CEOs not do?
Right.
Where did they fail?
Yeah.
So you have a humility enough to realize that, okay, I'm not going to make these mistakes. I'm going to make other ones,
For sure. Yeah.
but I'm not going to make these.
Yeah.
I'm going to fix these.
Yeah, and I think, as we mentioned also earlier, it's important to be able to look at your previous decision and maybe also change them again, even if it's in a different direction. But I think it's very important to understand that we do have always new knowledge of today. And I think also as a team, everybody has a voice.
Yeah.
And it's important to get every voice included and every voice counts.
But that means you're a great leader.
Thank you, Heidi.
Because you listen to all the voices around the table.
Yeah, I try to. I probably
only
not do
your
it
own.
all the time, but I think that's very important. But that was also one of your learnings in your way?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And you know what? I can say to myself that I have not always been a good listener. And I am trying to be better. And so I know that's a skill I need to do more of. I need to invest more in. I have a gift of gab. I can talk up a storm, and I like to share ideas.
Yeah.
But silence is golden.
Yeah, but what a value for me now to also be here with you, and after all your success, you still learning, and I think it's so important that we understand as humans the learning curve is never over. It's something
Lifelong learning.
Yeah.
That's what the Chinese told me.
Yes, true.
Be a lifelong learner.
True, but it also makes life fun, I believe. It also makes it like so many points about everything. Like I said, hula hoop, and I love that too.
Everything. One of the questions I ask people is what your favorite candy is. Okay, that's a very interesting question.
True.
Because a lot of them, it comes from their childhood.
Yes.
And then you learn about their childhood. So in other words, little questions like that can open up big doors
For
of
sure.
interest.
Yeah. What is your favorite candy?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I like lollipops.
Okay, good.
Because they stay with you and I have to work at it.
For
They
sure,
don't just disappear. How about you?
Chocolate.
Okay.
It's like,
Okay.
Good.
Okay,
I brought you some chocolate from Dubai. So, okay, so at the end, we always have the tradition that we have a question from the previous person in the
lay it on
podcast.
me.
Yes, and you are also allowed to pass them on. So the one from you is from Kai Diekmann. You know him. He was running probably the most important newspaper in Europe, the Bild newspaper. But he did so many also interesting things with digital transformation and so on.
Everything.
Yeah,
I'm a very big fan of his. I'm like a groupie.
I'm already friends with him for a long time, and when I hear all the stories, him meeting the Dalai Lama, meeting the Pope, meeting Donald Trump, meeting so many different personalities, I thought it's quite interesting. Vladimir Putin even,
I call people like him, and I'm going to tell him on stage tomorrow because we're having a chat on stage, I call people like him kaleidoscopes. because you keep turning them and you keep
Yes.
seeing different colors and
For
different
sure.
perspectives, and it's
Yeah.
fabulous. He's a kaleidoscope.
Yeah, always when he comes, he was at my home some months ago, and it was so funny. Like, he has so many stories.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just can recommend have a night out with him.
We'll
So his
watch it.
question, ready? What was the biggest mistake you ever made in an investment that you took or you did?
This is so easy.
Guy.
There was a medical device,
Yes.
okay, which I loved the mission of. It was an HP3. It was measured stress in breath.
Okay.
Okay, so in other words, it measured oxygenated stress
Yes.
in the body due to organ breakdown. And I love this because it was a diagnostic device. And instead of taking blood and seeing, you know, if you had disease in your
Yes.
body, you would get it from breath. Okay. And I wanted to believe in this so badly. And this leader of this company, the CEO, could sell ice to an Eskimo.
Oh, wow.
And he had some of the biggest investors. It was all in. Everybody was excited because we all wanted this to succeed.
Yes.
Because if you were able to diagnose through breath, it would be a game changer. And there was
sure.
a lot of science behind it.
Yes.
And as I was investing in it, I was looking into the science, I started to realize that what he was saying was not true.
Oh.
And I was on the board of this company, the only woman on the board, which, by the way, in itself is a problem.
Yeah.
So it was an all-boys club, and all the guys on the board kept saying, "Oh no, he's absolutely telling us the truth." Meanwhile, I'm talking to the chief medical officer, saying, "No, none of this is proven out," and he's raising money against it. And this is so horrible. So I brought to the board with the chief medical officer. So what did they do? They fired the chief medical officer.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And I just thought to myself, Jillian, you don't know enough about this science to invest in this company. You do not invest in companies that are so outside your purview, right, of your domain knowledge. And that was a horrible from A to Z,
Wow.
horrible experience. I ultimately resigned from the board and wrote a scathing resignation letter saying you are unethical, almost criminal board here, that you know this product does not work, you know the science doesn't work, but you're still raising money around it.
Yeah.
Shame on you.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing that. I mean, there are some other examples also from America with blood tests.
Well, it was like Theranos.
Yes.
And everybody kept
Yeah.
saying, is this a... No,
Everybody hopes it's
I
maybe
kept
worse.
standing up for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then once I realized that the science could not be proven out, this was all smoke and mirrors, I was devastated because I was saying to my LPs, this is going to win. And my LPs were directly investing to this company millions of dollars based on science that I found out was not true.
Yeah.
And I was disgusted with myself because you don't invest into something you have zero knowledge in. I invested in hope instead of science.
But a good learning again, don't invest in hope. I mean, there's a slogan also coming from the US, fake it until you make it. But I think it's also sometimes to say, okay, I have to cut the losses and...
Absolutely.
Nice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Interesting
Because hope fills your heart, but not your bank.
True. Hope is not a strategy. I always
No,
said
hope is not a
in our
strategy.
company always said hope is not a strategy.
It has to support a problem and a proper solution, and there's hope.
So what would be a question you would like to ask to the next guest?
Okay. So when we invested in a company, into a founder, one of my questions always to them is, tell me one of your core personal values, where you learned it, and how it's affected your life. Not just your professional life, but your personal life.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm excited to ask it. It will be Jochen Schweizer. Jochen Schweizer is one of the members of the Shark Tank in Germany,
yes.
the German Shark Tank. And he will be excited to answer this question.
Yeah, he will. He will. Afterwards, he came up to me and he said, that was the most incredible. I learned so much.
Oh, good.
And coming from him,
Good.
I was so humbled.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank
Julian,
you.
it was amazing.
Thank you.
I'm excited to stay in touch. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
Cheers.
Don't wait for your future. Create it. The countdown is on. What are you waiting for? With smart technology, intelligent automation, future-proof processes, and ease of use. Grow as a team. Grow with your community. Create space for your potential. With CopeCard, you can make your digital business easier, faster, and simply better.